Welcome to I Am Well podcast. I am your host, Gemma, a nutritionist and mindset coach passionate about all things health and wellness. I'm going to take you on a journey to discovering what health means for you and how to create a life you love living. I'm on a mission to uplift those who feel overwhelmed with what it means to be healthy, reminding you, my listeners, that nutrition is only one aspect of health, and empower you to live your best life on your terms. Let's get to it. Hello everyone, I hope you are all having a wonderful start to your week. I am really excited for you all to hear today's episode. It is a little bit of a different one. If you were anything like me growing up and grew up in a really kind of conservative way, you know, like it wasn't normal to talk things like sex and, you know, getting in touch with your feminine side, then this chat might be a little bit, I guess, interesting for you. I know it was for me. I loved it because it teaches women how to have confidence in their sexuality, how to have confidence in their bodies again too. I teach fasting in a way because I want women to trust their bodies again, sync their lifestyle to their cycle so they understand that their hormones, they're not villains, they're not they're not just something that's annoying, but they're messages trying to tell us when to slow down, when to speed up, that kind of thing. And I really love what Lola, who comes on the show today, talks about. It's really about connecting with that part of yourself that for some of us grew up where it was really like hush hush, you know, that part of ourselves that was like, that's very private, that's not for everyone kind of thing. Anyway, you'll listen to it today, so I'm really excited. I should also mention that the Holistic Method, mine and Gabby's 6-week program, is now out. This is a program for the woman who is feeling burnt out, who wants to live this healthy, holistic life, but is feeling overwhelmed by all the noise out there. And Gabby and I come with our own expertise. I'm a nutritionist. I teach the fasting. I teach how to sync to a life to your cycle. You would have already heard that in the last part 3 episodes. And Gabby, she has a wealth of knowledge in low toxing your household, how much that environmental impact can have on our bodies, as well as a mindset practitioner. Like, she has learnt so much in meditation, in mindfulness practices, in all subconscious reprogramming, all of that stuff, as well as somatic movement. She's a Pilates instructor as well, has had her certifications done. So we really combine every aspect of health all in the one 6-week program. This is a program like no other because we're not just getting you to sign up and then go, okay, be on your way. It's up to you to see what you learn. We have 3 live Zooms throughout the 6-week program where we make sure that if you have any questions or you want us to walk you through anything, we're there for you with that. And then not to mention, we also have our group chat through Telegram, which is amazing if you've ever been in some sort of mastermind group before where there's a lot of women who are all on the same path, wanting to achieve the same sort of things. Or there might be other women with other certifications or other knowledge that they can share as well. And it's really a good way to create community and to create that leaning in to one another and learning from one another. So I really love the group chat aspects. I was in one myself at the start of this year, and it was more for business, but it helped me create that community that I needed so I didn't feel alone. And when you're trying to create a holistic, healthy lifestyle, sometimes it can feel like you're on your own because there's other people around you that are like, oh, what does it matter? You know, I've been living this way for so long. What does it matter if I, you know, my parents were fine the way they did it. I'm sure I'll be fine. And it really can make you feel insecure and put down. So, anyway, that is all in the link in the show notes below if you want to read more and understand what it entails and how it all works. But I will tell you this, we do have an early bird pricing at the moment that will run out this Friday. And if you were one of the people who joined the waitlist too, you have also received an email with your discount code. So please remember, like, please check your junk because I know a lot of the times it can go to the junk mail. I will send out another reminder email Wednesday and Thursday. But once it gets to Friday midnight, the early bird price and the discount code will all have stopped. So please don't miss out because you are saving like around $350 off the program. And that even that early bird price is amazing. It's right now at $777 for 6 weeks, and you get 2 coaches. Like, whoever gets 2 coaches in a program, like, that's just unheard of. So you have 2 coaches by your side in that group chat that you can always talk to, get get advice or things that you need. Gabby really helps with swapping cleaning items too in your home, and I have asked her a bunch of times, how do you create that floor cleaner? How do you create that toilet cleaner? And she's got so many recipes. So use us in the group chat. As I said, 2 coaches for 6 weeks for $777. Like, that's unheard of. It will rise after that back to the original price of $999. So please do not miss out. See the link in the show notes below. Otherwise, enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome back to I Am Well podcast. Today I have Lola, also known as Nicole, on my podcast today. She is a somatic liberation mentor. And if you're hearing that going, what is that? Don't worry, I am in the same boat. We actually met at a networking event, and I was just saying to her then, we only got a little snippet of a little chat that we got. And I was like, I need to know more on what you do. I started following her on Instagram, and I highly recommend. Her stuff is so poetic and beautiful, but also really intriguing, kind of makes you just really do a lot of inner work. And that's what we're all about here. So, welcome, Lola. Thank you so much for coming on today. How are you, by the way?
Thank you so much for having me. I am well. I'm like moving into my luteal phase, so I'm feeling my energy just getting soft and squishy, and yeah, just feeling really like content and relaxed today.
That's
Thank you so much
amazing.
for having me.
No, that's amazing. That's what you want to feel. You want to feel calm in this time. So that's that you're
Yes, it's
feeling.
been a journey to get to this.
Yes, which is what we're going to talk about. Okay. So before we even get started, like, because obviously I want to understand more on what you do and what you teach. But before we even jump into that, I really like to learn a lot about how you got to where you are and someone's backstory, because I feel like that just paints such a picture and it's really inspiring for others to hear, especially if any other women who are on, say, a similar journey. So, what I read a little bit about what you've posted online and how you do have a little story of where you got to here. And I was just wondering if you'd be able to share that with us, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Mm,
Yeah, my journey started really young.
mm,
So when I was 17, I was in an incredibly dark place and I attempted suicide and ended up in the hospital. And after that experience, I had a teacher at school recommend I start meditating. And I had no fucking idea what meditation was at the time, but I was like, well, fuck it. Let's just give this a shot, see how we go. That was kind of my first little intro into basic mindfulness and starting to become aware of myself, becoming conscious of being conscious. After that experience, also started antidepressants. And so, if you know anything about SSRIs, they absolutely numb you to all sensation and feeling and emotion and your aliveness. And so while they can really numb the heaviness and the darkness that comes with depression, they can also really numb your aliveness and your joy and your pleasure. And so I couldn't have an orgasm anymore. I couldn't feel anything anymore. And I just felt really fucking numb and dead inside. And so I went on that journey with antidepressants for a year or two and eventually tapered off them, which opened up a whole Pandora's box where I began to really awaken out the other side of that experience to the depth of the trauma I was holding on to in my body. Now, this was a gradual awakening, but what really began to wake me up was when I was about 19, I ran away to the States for a boy. And that relationship ended up turning super toxic. And I was like, fuck this. I'm coming home. While I was over there, I practiced a lot of yoga though. And that really was like a key along with my journey, the meditation all coming in. So when I came home and I ended that relationship, I decided to go all in with these practices that I'd been learning around the yoga and the meditation and the breath work. I was still like so fresh and so new to all of these practices. But I went all in, and the universe pulled me towards or surrounded me with these people who were very spiritually connected and aware. And I'd never been around people like this before. And so here's me, little baby 19-year-old, just come home from the States. I'm like so raw, so cracked open, feeling so liberated because I felt so caged in that relationship. I couldn't be myself. And here I am diving into these meditations and visualizations and like Abraham Hicks law of attraction and all of this like love and light energy. And I'm starting to have like these full body orgasms lying down on the floor, not even touching myself, just deep in meditation. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I'm onto something. I haven't felt like this in fucking forever, my entire life. Like, what is this? I need to devote my whole fucking life to this. And so it was practices like breath work, mirror work, connecting to my sensuality, coming back to dance, because I was a dancer for a long time in school, but I started ecstatic dance, which is really about just full bodied fucking liberation on the dance floor. And through these practices, began to find a connection to God and a connection to the core of who I am that I had never in my life experienced before. And this was really fucking profound. Like I would be walking along the beach, dancing, bawling my fucking eyes out, just streaming tears of gratitude and wonderment and awe for this life. And it was wild. It was fucking wild. I was like, okay, I need to devote my whole life to this. At the time, I was studying health science. I was doing a double degree in nutritional and dietetic medicine and naturopathy. And I decided to make the switch as I began to have this spiritual sexual awakening. I was like, fuck, like sacred sexuality and tantra, this is really calling me. I want to explore this. And so that's when I went down the path of studying somatic sexology, which is really about infusing a deeper awareness and a consciousness into your body, feeling that inner landscape of your body, that sea of sensations and feelings and emotions, and connecting so deep inwards into yourself that you can really shift and alchemize any heaviness and really come into these higher vibrational states of being simply through that embodied awareness and through practices like dance, movement, breath, yoga, all of these somatic practices, body work, touch, that enable us to really connect in and find that inner sense of wholeness and connection and aliveness, as well as this inner sense of wealth that naturally ripples out and makes you incredibly fucking magnetic. And so that's a little bit of my journey in a nutshell
Yeah.
as to
No,
like
I know.
how I discovered this path. Yeah.
Yeah, we only have so much time, so I know there's like obviously going to be a much more in-depth story, but just the way you talk then, like I don't even know if you realize how like entrancing you are. Like you say the words that you say, like it's very poetic and everything. And you can tell obviously you're very passionate about it, but it's so interesting too, coming from like my perspective, right? Like when I grew up, talking about sex or anything, like that was really like a, oh my goodness, like you would just wouldn't say sex. Like I've even talked about this before where like I remember the school I went to and we had sex ed and everything. The boys would go out off and they got taught how to put a condom on a banana. And like us girls, we got taught how to dress for a job interview. Like that was at my Christian college, what we got taught.
I
So
can relate to
I
that.
grew up in a very like very safe, you can't talk about that stuff. We didn't even say penis or vagina. We had to say like your hoo hoo or whatever, like what I mean. So were you always very open and confident with that stuff, or is it literally just because of the practices that you did that all of a sudden it awoken that part of you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I had a very similar upbringing to you. So also went to a Christian Lutheran school from preschool through to grade 12, and it was super conservative. And yeah, very similar story with the sex ed. Like it was very minimal and didn't actually educate us on anything. It was actually a lot of fear in our sex ed, very graphic slides of STIs and STDs and crabs. And I'm like, oh God, like
What am
this is
I
intense.
doing? I don't want to do that at all.
No, so much fear, right? And just so much purity culture really deeply ingrained in that as well. And so I can really relate to, yeah, your experience and your upbringing there because mine was very similar. And even my parents, like I didn't get like the talk until I was 10 or 11, which is quite late for a lot of people. And yeah, sex was something that was like kept behind closed doors. It's like you don't talk about that. It's like that is reserved for private adult only situations. And we don't talk about that. So much shame cloaked around it, right? So much taboo. And so definitely was not always super connected to my sexuality. In fact, my sexuality came out in quite shadowy, leaky, manipulative ways when I was in my teenage years after I lost my virginity with my first boyfriend. And I very quickly learned because I was very like shy. I was this nerdy little kid in school. I didn't really get any attention unless I was up getting, the Ducks Academic Award of the Year. It's
Yeah.
like super like innocent, but also like super craving attention from the masculine. I have had a very wounded relationship with my father. So deep, deep, deep father wounds there that have like deeply impacted my life. It's been a whole portal of healing in itself. But how that manifested itself when I was in high school was this like incessant need to seek love and validation and like assurance of my worthiness and my enoughness through my sex. And so I found very quickly like, oh, if I give my body to these boys, then I get this love and this attention that I'm desperately seeking within myself, right? Because I'd never had an example of what it's like to be deeply loved by the masculine. And so, yeah, throughout my teenage years, I was the slut of the school. I was slut shamed. I was ostracized from my community. The school hated it. You can imagine going to a super religious Christian school. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? And so it was a lot. And actually healing from that, like was a huge journey in itself, like learning to actually find a deep love for myself within myself, really connecting in with my inner child and letting her know like, hey, like little Nicole, like, I've got you. I've fucking got you. We don't need to use our sexuality as this manipulative tool to seek love from the masculine. Like, our sexuality is sacred. Our sexuality is our connection to the divine, and that is so precious. And we get to be so conscious as to who we share and exchange that energy with. And so, yeah, my sexuality was always very hyper expressed
Mm.
until I peeled back so many of these layers of my healing journey to really land in this place of like a deep honor and respect for myself. I don't need to now use my sex as this manipulative, seductive tool to
Mhm.
seek something that I'm not sourcing within myself first and foremost. And so yeah, my journey with my confidence and my magnetism and my power as a woman has been, yeah, it definitely hasn't always looked like that. My upbringing definitely didn't look like that. The women in my lineage definitely didn't give me a model of that either.
Mm. Well, I applaud you for like where you are now and how far you've come because I had the same experience, being at a Christian college and everything, and a woman as well, like, men at the Christian, there were boys at Christian colleges where they were probably sleeping with many women and stuff like that, but they would never get hold to the standard that women did. It was seen you were slut shamed, really. Um, so I applaud you with how far you've come now, and you do come off with such confidence that I'm sure many women look at you and kind of, I reckon there would be a lot there that would be envious, like because they're wanting that, you know what I mean? There's always going to have that judgment there, but it's because someone is missing that in their own life. And it's really hard for women to be sexual and be confident with their sexuality because we're kind of taught as we're growing up to be good girls. You're a good girl. You
Mm.
sit there, be don't go too. I remember always my pet peeve is someone telling me calm down. Like even if my husband like just says calm down or something like that, I hate hearing that. And I think it was because when I was a child, I would be sometimes way over the top or something, and I remember getting told calm down. You're being too much. It was always you had to be a good girl. So I know there would be many women that would be like not understanding of what you're teaching, but then also secretly being like, I want that. um,
Totally.
yeah. So with, I know you were saying like you had this kind of pivotal moment. I don't know if it was a moment or it sounds like it was kind of a journey for you, but how did you just this might be a silly question, but like, how did you actually get there to find that sexual confidence with only the practices of the meditation, that kind of those spiritual practices that we do with yoga and stuff? Because I know there's going to be people listening going, but I meditate, I do yoga. Like, why aren't I feeling this? What Lola's feeling? Why aren't I feeling like this? So what was this journey? Was it a pivotal moment or was it steps to get there? Like, yeah, how did you go with that?
Yeah, it's definitely been a gradual journey, but ultimately, what's really catalyzed this entire awakening and this deep liberation for me has been a really deep devotion to loving myself, a
Mm,
really deep devotion to feeling my body and everything that exists inside of me in the light and the dark and the pain and the pleasure. Not avoiding the pain because I know that in avoiding the pain, I'm also limiting my capacity to feel my pleasure. And so there's been this really deep devotion to feeling my body, this deep devotion to my eros, to my sexual aliveness, this really deep devotion to feeling so fucking whole and delicious and ecstatic in my body because I felt the contrast of that. I felt how it feels to be totally numb inside your body, to not even want to be here on this planet. And so having touched that darkness within myself, it's like how can I not devote myself to this path knowing full well like the aliveness that it offers me? Like I genuinely would not be here on this planet without that deep devotion to my joy, to my ecstasy, to my pleasure, to my aliveness. And so I really feel like it's not just a yoga practice here and there. It's not just a meditation practice here and there. It's like actually going all the way fucking in to your healing and into your embodied liberation. And so for me, that's looked like investing multiple five figures into mentors, into trainings, into certifications, and really immersing myself wholly and completely into this work and into this path. And that's not to say that everybody has to go and invest tens of thousands of dollars into this work. Like, no, but it really, if you're craving to feel that aliveness, if you're like, oh, I can feel this pulse, this pull, something's calling me to want to taste this pleasure, this orgasmic state of being, then I would recommend by starting by working with a mentor who you feel drawn to, who can initiate you onto that path and lead the way for you. Someone who has been on the journey and someone who can teach you through their lived experience and through their embodiment as to how to access that. Because yeah, it's not all just ecstasy and love and light. It's also expanding your capacity to hold all of life, to hold all of you in your grief, in your shame, in your pain, in your chaos, in your rage as a woman, right? Learning how to feel everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so a few practices that I always come back to are my dancing and my self-pleasure practice. Like those two practices, they can encompass so many things in themselves, but it's
Yeah.
like they are the practices that keep me anchored in my body, anchored in my pleasure, anchored in my joy. But it's that devotion piece that I think matters more than anything, because if you're going in to just dance here and there, or yeah, go to a yoga practice here and there, it's like maybe you'll scratch the surface, maybe you'll, play around on the tip of the iceberg. But when you really want to dive into the fullness of what it means to be a woman, then that's where I'd really invite you to really intentionally bring the people around you who can support you to create that. It's like they say you are the average of the five people that you spend the most time with. Like start surrounding yourself with people who live the life that you want to live, who are connected to themselves, who are embodied, who are creating a life of wealth and beauty through their pleasure, through their ecstasy. Like it's possible. It is so more than possible for every fucking human being on this planet. You just have to choose it.
Yeah. And you make a real difference there from saying just how much you talk about your body and how you love your body. And I think that's the key here, like having confidence with your body, but not just that superficial confidence that we talk about that gets thrown around like, oh, you love yourself today, say some nice words to yourself. It's like, no, you go to that next level where you're like, so deeply in love with yourself that you can go and have those solo orgasms on your own, whereas in my world and growing up, it was like that's like not talked about. It's a hush hush. I know more it's talked about nowadays, like it's definitely talked more about nowadays, but I definitely think my gen or our generation is going to struggle with that because we didn't get that with that upbringing. So when you have confidence to do things like that, to have those and go to dance and do dance, but not because it's a chore for your body, but because you love your body and you want it to move that way, that's what, like, it makes so much sense what you're saying. Like that's where the big difference is. And I get it. I get everything that you're teaching too with the whole manifesting and stuff, because when you are in that connection, of course you're going to be vibrating at a different frequency, so of course you're going to be manifesting what you want in that energy. Um, it actually reminds me, I read, I think it's called The Think Grow Rich, that book. I don't know. Yeah. And I remember there's literally a chapter in there, isn't there? Something to do
And
with,
sexual transmutation.
yes. So
Yes.
is that, yeah. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I was literally just a chapter. So being on that frequency, am I getting this right? Obviously, I don't teach this, so I'm just trying to guess here. But yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I remember reading Think and Grow Rich probably when I was like 19 and just kind of starting on this awakening. And so my understanding of it then versus now is very different. And so my experience and my understanding of sexual transmutation, which he describes a little bit in the book, it's really about harnessing the power of your sexual energy and channeling that energy into what it is that you want to create in this life. And so often our sexual energy, well, first and foremost, our sexual energy is the most fucking creative, powerful energy in this fucking universe, right? Like this literally has the capacity and ability to create new life, to create new worlds, to create new paradigms. Like it's super magnetic. Like you can feel when someone is anchored in their root, anchored in their sacral, and it is just oozing out of them. You're like, whoa, hold on a fucking second. Like, yum, yes, I'm feeling you. It's delicious, right? When we lack a connection to that sacral energy, it can kind of go one of two ways. Especially for women, we can often either shut down our sexual energy as, especially if you've had like this Christian upbringing and you're told hush hush, there's this huge like patriarchal religious conditioning that we've received around our sexuality and a lot of repression around feminine power for fucking thousands of years. And so it's like, of course, we would shut down our sexuality because we're taught, like, no, be a good girl, like, hush, hush, as you put it. And so when we're shut down in that energy, we're going to, of course, lack that aliveness, lack that magnetism, that radiance, that energy that really fuels and propels us forwards into what it is that we want. And so when we're shut down, we're not feeling that energy. On the other hand, when perhaps we are feeling that energy, but we can very easily leak it. Like as I was describing earlier, that was the experience that I had in my teenage years, where I was leaking that energy all over the place. I was giving away my power to the people around me because I lacked this love for myself. And so my energy was leaking everywhere, and therefore I didn't actually have this connection to that power within me. And so they're the kind of the two ways that it can be, either shut down or leaked out, where we are really missing out on the power of harnessing that energy for good, to actually create and to live a really beautiful ecstatic life. And so when we harness that, when we plug those leaks or we bring that energy to life in a healthy conscious way, we get to then choose what we want to do with that, right? It's like, fuck, where I'm this turned on woman. I have this energy, I have this aliveness, this feels good. I feel connected to myself. I love myself. And it is so much deeper than just skin deep. This isn't just about me painting my nails and looking pretty in the mirror. This is about me fucking feeling myself and accepting myself in my wholeness, right? When we activate that, we get to choose, like, okay, what do I want to do this with all of this energy? Like it literally changes your brain, your neurology, the brain chemistry. It's like you think differently, you see the world differently when you love yourself and you're connected to your sacral power.
Mhm.
Right. This is especially for women. We have a womb that is literally the portal to fucking God. Like new life just enters into our body from our womb. This is our creative portal. Right. And so when we can really drop into that depth of our body, we can then go, okay, I have this creative project that I want to bring to life. I'm going to literally use this energy and my turn on to bring this to life. So it doesn't have to be a new baby that we're creating, right? We get to really intentionally harness that through practices like breath, through movement, through dancing, through self pleasure, sex, magic. We get to move that energy and really consciously direct it through our vision, through moving that energy into what we want to create. And ultimately, yeah, really lifting ourselves into an extremely high vibrational state of being that people can feel when you walk into the room.
Yeah. It, you said it all. It totally makes sense because, I mean, everyone's always talking about gratitude and saying how high gratitude is and to be grateful and how high of an energy form that is. Um, Whereas this sort of energy, I think, so another level. I'm not sure if that's what you got taught or if that's true at all, but it just feels like it's more magnetic because it's
Hmm.
so, because you can be grateful but not have that confidence within yourself, like you can be grateful but still have a little bit of lack or still have a little bit of self-doubt within you. Whereas this is like another level where you're fully believing in yourself, in your body, you're connecting with your body again. So
Mm-hmm.
I love
And
everything.
and that's the thing right there, right? It's like there's a difference between feeling
Yeah.
more up in the mind or even just in the heart versus feeling with your whole body,
Mhm.
feeling gratitude seeping out of every fucking cell of your being, cracking you the fuck open. And the beautiful thing about working with our sexual energy is that it has this really beautiful way of really blasting through any limiting blocks, any stuck, frozen energy inside of our nervous system to really open up our entire being to the divine, to the quantum field, to something so much bigger and greater than us.
Mm.
And so don't get me wrong, like it's so beautiful to feel gratitude in whatever form you feel it. And yet it changes flavor when you're embodying that gratitude, when you're really fucking feeling it as real inside of yourself with, as you put it, yeah, this really deep belief in yourself, with this deep love for yourself, where you love yourself like the divine loves you. You radiate different when you're in that energy for sure.
Amazing. Also, I just wanted to touch on, I teach a, a lot around women's cycles too. And we mentioned it at the start. You were saying you're in your luteal phase. Is that something within your practices that you kind of make sure to be aware of for women as well? Like, that there's these different phases, and what does that look like as a somatic liberation mentor, like for your
Mhm.
clients? Like, how do you teach the cycles? I just love to hear other points of views on that.
Yeah, I love that. I work deeply with my own cycle for sure. And this naturally has a ripple effect out into the work that we do, especially because we feel so different across the different phases of our cycle. Like our brain is literally operating different, our nervous system is operating different. The female nervous system and like infradian rhythm is so complex, and most somatics really don't recognize that. It's like this is a whole portal of healing potential that we can access when we actually drop into our womb and its natural rhythms and cycles and wisdom. And so I personally sync my entire life around my cycle. And so you can best guarantee that I am not doing any calls in the first few days of my bleed. My calendar is clear as fuck. And that is a time for me to really go in and nourish my body with lots of pleasure and lots of slowness and lots of sunshine and lots of grounding and, lots of really whole, denser, wintry foods.
Mm.
And then it's coming into that more follicular or that ovulation energy. That's a really fucking powerful time to be in that manifesting energy, to be practicing the sex magic, because of course our energy is on the rise. And that's a really beautiful, powerful time to be harnessing that. To be like, okay, we have another cycle. I've just gone through that death. Now we're out the other side. I feel reborn. What am I gonna channel this energy into this month, right? And I feel like the deeper that we honor that like incessant death and rebirth cycle that we go through every month, the deeper that we connect to that, the closer we become to the goddess, the closer we become to the divine and nature, and things flow so much more smoothly in life because we're not trying to push or force against our natural cycles. It's
Mhm.
it's a huge fucking reclamation, right? Living in such a masculine driven world that is just on go 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 all the time. No wonder so many women are constantly burned out. And so yeah, this work that I do is so deeply about nourishing your body, nourishing your cycle, nourishing your nervous system. Because if you want to live a life that is full of this orgasmic abundance, you got to honor your feminine body, right? Otherwise, you're just going to be stressing yourself out and pushing yourself to your limits. And I'm just not about that. I'm about that soft, feminine body, right? Really coming home to our full aliveness. And so that means really honoring each phase of the cycle and the gifts that each of them have, and recognizing that different parts of our cycle, we have more neuroplasticity, we can process trauma better in different phases of our cycle. And so we get to work with that to really create this really beautiful healing and liberation and manifestation.
Hmm. And just as you said, they are a gift. They're like superhero powers, and we do for a long time we've all kind of hated on different sections of them. But even when you were talking about when you were saying you're in your luteal phase, you weren't kind of saying, "Oh, my period's coming," or like, you weren't demonizing it or saying, "Oh, I hate this." You know what I mean? You were saying it like it was such a special time. I love this time, and that's what women are missing out on when they're not connecting with their cycle like that. And of course, you are connecting because you're so connected to your body. So, of course, you would be connected to your cycle. But I love talking about it in such a uplifting, positive manner and really connecting with each phase, because that luteal phase does teach you to go inwards, and to slow down. And that's what I always say, like it's your hormone sending you a message that it's time now. Like you've done so well in the ones before, it's time now to slow down. But we
Mm.
don't listen to it. We keep going because, as you said, hustle culture and burnout, and that's what happens. And then this is where we get complications with that menstrual phase, because we're not
Mm.
listening to our hormones and what they're teaching us. But I love that what you're teaching is connecting someone to their body, so they're starting to listen to their hormones again. It all entwines.
Yeah.
Makes
It's
sense.
it's so important, and it's really coming back to the sacredness of our womb and to what it means to be a woman, and coming home to this beautiful shamanic, psychic, intuitive nature of our being.
Mm,
And when we try to demonize that or make our bleed or some parts of our cycle wrong or this like inconvenience, we are literally like distancing ourselves from our deepest feminine gifts.
mm,
It's like every month we have this beautiful opportunity to go inwards, to feel everything that's alive inside of our system and to let everything die, to be reborn and to come alive as this new woman. But so long as we're, yeah, in that hustle, we are so detracting from that opportunity to really have this beautiful shamanic release, this letting go. It's like without the letting go, there's no space inside of our system for a new life, for new energy,
Mhm.
right? And we end up just running on empty. And so it's so important to go inwards, to nourish, to feel, to release, to let go, so that we can come alive as this new woman. And I feel like this is such a huge part of this deep feminine path that I'm so devoted to. It's like this wholehearted embrace of the cycles of death and rebirth. We can be so focused on the love and the light and the life and the aliveness, but without the willingness to go into ourselves and die to who we were yesterday, then we're going to be keeping ourselves really fucking stuck in the same patterns over and over again and feeling like shit in our body and wondering why we feel like everything is a fucking mess, everything's burning down and it's all chaotic. And I'm like, who the fuck am I every month? And I mean, that's all part of the cycle as well. I feel that too. But it's an embrace of that, and it's like the more that we try to make ourselves wrong for that,
Yeah.
we again we're disconnecting from the core of what makes us women's feminine beings. We can harness that.
Yeah. It's powerful. Um, One other thing I love looking when I saw you on your Instagram, your partner, he's so supportive. How
Oh my
supportive
God.
is he of you? How long have you two been together?
Ah, I've been together for nearly a year and a half.
Wow.
And yeah, he has been the greatest gift I have ever received in this life. Truly.
Yeah. So do
He
you
is.
feel like you literally manifested that perfect man for you in your life at the right time? Like, is that how it happened? That's just how it
Oh
felt.
my God, yeah, definitely. And it wasn't something that I was seeking. It wasn't something that I was looking for.
Yeah, always the way.
Actually, he really came into my life when I really decided to let go of needing a man in my life
Yeah.
and to actually really develop my own connection to the divine masculine and to feel this wholehearted, deep, unwavering connection with God and to feel him holding me, to feel his love for me, and to feel so fucking filled up on that divine love.
Mm.
And through that, it just brought this deep sense of I am so held, I'm so provided for. Like I have everything that I need and more. And of course, it was from that place, that deep connection to what I thought I was seeking outside of myself. How do I put that? It's like for a long time I was displacing my need for, or how do I put it? I was displacing my yearning, my longing uh for God, for that wholehearted connection with the divine masculine inside of me. I was placing that onto a man, i.e., something external outside of myself. And so as soon as I dropped that, as soon as I had that awareness and connected into that deeper love and security within myself, then like of course just naturally he came into my life and it's been so beautiful and so rapturous and so motherfucking healing. He cracks me open like nobody else on this planet ever has. And yeah, deeply, 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 deeply supportive. Like he holds me to an incredibly high standard and I love it.
But makes sense that I feel like just from hearing your story that you must have met him at that perfect time because past you probably wouldn't have been ready for that, you know?
Mm.
So it just goes to show that for any woman out there that is like, why can't I find that man for me? You know, that's constantly, as you were putting it, yearning, wanting, and searching. It's more so doing the inner work and looking and
Mm.
being more connected with yourself. And then that's when things will start to happen. It's always when you're not looking, it's always the way.
Totally. And I mean, it's important to have these conversations with yourself and to get really fucking honest with yourself as well about like, okay, I talk about wanting this beautiful, like tall, handsome, fit, strong, sexy, divine, masculine man who can hold me in the fullness of my womanhood. But who is the woman that I have to be a match for that?
Yeah.
Right? And can I actually fully receive a man like that? Can I actually meet a man like that at this higher level of consciousness? Can I actually love myself enough to feel worthy of a man like that and not push him away or try to anxiously attach to him? Can I find security within myself with a man like that? And so these are really like big questions to ask yourself. And they were questions that I was asking myself for quite a while before Keegan really came into my life in the way that he did. And yeah, it's like really important to look at all of the parts of yourself where you might be unconsciously holding that man at a distance,
Mm.
but also being so open and so surrendered to God's plan, like trusting that the universe is going to plant this man inside of your life exactly in the right timing, exactly when you're ready for it, and you got to trust that.
Yeah, I love that.
Hmm.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
So with everything you're doing now, you have a few programs, I think. I believe you have a program that's just launched. Is that correct?
Yeah, so right now I have spaces open inside my high level mastermind, Magnetic.
Yeah.
And so being a mastermind space, this is less about a program that has a curriculum or a set journey that we're going on. But the beautiful thing about a mastermind is it's this open, collaborative, ritualistic space for like this really beautiful, tight, intimate inner circle of women to come together and to really go to where we want to go on fucking hyperspeed. It's like the conversations that happen in this room are powerful as fuck, like life changing. And so it's a space where we come together a couple of times a month and we drop into ritual practice, really meeting with the aliveness of the group. And so, again, there's no like curriculum here. This is more so, okay, what do we all need? Like, what is this moment really calling for? What do we need that's going to really take us to where we want to go on hyperspeed? And so that's the really beautiful thing about a mastermind. It's like, let's all get together and support each other and collaborate and celebrate the fuck out of each other and learn from each other and rise higher together.
I love masterminds. That was the best thing I did. Was in a mastermind at the start of this year. And for anyone that's ever like thinking about it, you are going to get so much out of it, no matter like what mastermind it is. But it is so true because when you're in that that group together and everyone's there for the same reason because you've all chosen, you're going to have similar stories and it's so uplifting. And I'm still talking to women that I was in masterminds with, you know, ages ago that I'm still like connected with. So you're going to make some great connections. So I highly recommend. I love that it's not curriculum based because it definitely, like, I think that makes so much sense with what you teach and how it works. And just talking to you, it's not like you need to have a set curriculum. Like so many women are going to learn so much from you just speaking to you. You
Mm.
got such knowledge and power that you're literally going to change lives. I mean that.
Thank
I'm
you, my
not
love.
just trying to like, make your head bigger. I actually mean it.
I appreciate you.
um, so that's really exciting. I will leave all the
Mm.
links in the show notes.
Mm.
One last question I just wanted to ask because I thought I like to ask this for women who are coaches or mentors or any types. What is the most like common thing that you find with your clients, like the most common problem that you find, and what is a way that you know how to help heal it or fix it or something?
Oh, that's a big question.
I just like to hear, yeah, someone else's perspective with
Mm.
what they teach, and especially yours is so different. It's so
Mm.
unique. So and especially if someone's listening and they're thinking, oh, maybe this course is for me, but I'm a bit nervous. Especially if
Mm.
someone's never even got, as we were saying, like our upbringing, and they're like, I want to feel that sexual empowerment, but I'm nervous to even get to that point because I'm so self-conscious. Is that one of the problems, or is there something else that you hear more common with? Like what's the usually with the women that first start off with you? What's the usual
Mm.
section there?
Yeah, more often than not, the women that come to me have experienced some kind of trauma or shutdown around their sexuality, and they often feel this sense of disconnection from their body, a disconnection from the fullness of their eros and their femininity. And they really crave to feel this like deep connection to the core of their being and their creative power and that magnetism. And often they also feel really like stuck in just one dimension of their expression. It's like they're showing up just as this one character in life, and yet they really crave to feel like the full spectrum of their expression, to feel like they can access all of these different characters and archetypes of their sexuality and of their feminine energy, and to really like play and to have fun with that energy, to really bring this aliveness into their sex life, into their union, into their business. And so, quite often, I work with women who, yeah, are either more shut down in their energy and are desiring to really fucking crack open to that aliveness, or they are on that hustle train and they're feeling like, fuck, I cannot do this for a fucking second longer. I know that there has to be another way. And so they come to me because they want to learn how to create and to scale a really beautiful business through their feminine energy, through their magnetism, and through their radiance, and like through their pleasure, you know? And so, yeah, I would say they're the few biggest things that women often come to me for. And so I really find that the two most powerful things that I offer are my in-person experiences, because there's truly nothing else like being one-on-one in a room together, deep, deep, deep body work and connection, and just going to those deep depths together in a beautiful, safe, sacred space. I offer work from my home. And so you're held in this beautiful forest, and you have my hands on your body, and we're deeper in ceremony and ritual. And oh, truly, there has never been a single time that a woman has not left my space feeling like a reborn, whole new woman. And so
I don't doubt
my
that.
yeah, my yoni massage, my yoni mapping, my tantric body work is it's profound, it's life-changing. And then the second thing would be, yeah, getting yourself into mastermind spaces, because like I said, surrounding yourself with women who are on the same path as you, or have what you want and think in the same ways and are elevating their consciousness and their embodiment in these really deep, powerful ways. Like, you just cannot underestimate the power of really being selective with your inner circle and investing in your inner circle where it feels right and where it feels true, because there is nothing else like being surrounded by a group of powerful, embodied women who are shamelessly going after what they want and cracking open to God and creating abundance and wealth and experiencing beautiful, deep, sacred union. Like, claiming that, you know, and putting yourself in rooms with women who are claiming that for themselves. Like, there is nothing else like that. They say proximity is power, and there's a reason for that. You know, it's like being in close proximity with women like that will change you, will change your entire being, the way that you perceive the world, the way that you perceive yourself and what's possible for you,
Mhm.
everything.
It's so true because yeah, as you said, that when you become like who you surround yourself with. And that is a really good take on this. If you take anything out of today, like really try to consider, who are you surrounding yourself with? Like, what is your environment that you are putting your body in? Because that is having so much effect on you, more than you would possibly ever know. I love that you create those spaces together. Like, I love in-person things. I think I was just actually saying this the other day to a breathwork practitioner, because I've done her courses, breathwork class online, but then we did it in person. And I was like, everything is so much more powerful in person. And I
Mm.
love that we have the online space now because we're able to reach more people. So I think that's really powerful in itself. But those in-person things that you can do, those classes and stuff, they're incredible. And
Mm.
I mean, I was in the same room as you when we were at that networking event, and I could feel your energy there. So I can only imagine what it would be like. So I'll
Yeah,
have
I
to come
couldn't
do
agree more with you. It's exactly for that reason, like the impact of in-person work, it hits different. And so like yes, I have magnetic, I have a couple of programs that are curriculum based, like Nectar and Orgasmic Opulence, all about embodying your pleasure and your wealth. But I'm literally just about to launch an in-person mastermind because I've been feeling that craving to have like a group of women in this space on a regular basis, women who are on that high level, who are on this path of growth, of evolution, of wealth, of creation. And yeah, creating that space because I don't know of anywhere else in the world where I'm seeing women who are coming together, not just to have those conversations, but to be in that deep embodied practice, to be in the sex magic, to be connecting to our wombs and to that creative power in a really powerful embodied way. I
that.
haven't seen that and I've craved it. And so I created it.
That's amazing. That's
Mhm.
incredible. Well, there you go. That's
Yeah, keep your eyes out for that.
Yeah, that's gonna be so good. That's just what we need. Like I love just women coming together too. And it really like sometimes I think about it like it goes back to our roots too, like back to the hunter-gatherer days where women were always surrounded by each other. We were in those group and communities and gatherings, and we've kind of forgotten about that. And that's why I think that's where we do thrive when we are more in those tight-knit communities and gatherings. And I've witnessed that for myself. Like I remember even during the past, Gemma would always try to keep to my own. I remember telling people I don't have many friends, and I would always say I don't have many friends, but that's okay. I like to be on my own. Like I like to be just myself, and I'm okay with just my own bubble. But now looking back on that person and what I was saying, I feel like it's more of an excuse. And I was just trying to find something because I was scared to be in a bigger community to show, because then you're more vulnerable too. You've got to show yourself more. So I was always like, no, I'm happy to be on my own because I was so nervous of the judgment, of the fear, because I didn't have that connection with my body that you were talking about. So
Mm.
thank you so much for coming on today. I have loved this conversation. It's probably like up at my favorites now. Um, I just love everything you teach. I just think it's so unique, so different, and I think women need it so much more than we know. Like
Mm.
I just feel like it's another level of confidence and connecting to yourself and your body. And I teach the cycles and fasting, and I love teaching fasting because I do feel like it forces you to connect with your body again. It forces you to
Mm.
listen to your body and things like that. So it takes you on that spiritual journey. But I just feel like this is just another level of that too. So thank you so much for
Mm.
coming on today.
Thank you
I
so much for bringing me on. It's been such a pleasure.
No, I loved having you. I will leave all the links to your courses and everything in the show notes below. But yeah, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. I will talk to you all in the next episode. Bye, guys.